Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the video. In today's video, we are celebrating 50,000 subscribers, as well as doing some question and answers. I'm here to answer all of your questions today, just as we celebrate the 50,000 subscriber milestone. And first and foremost, I always want to start with just the biggest thank you. I appreciate each and every one of you that are joining me on this journey. I am not an expert, but I love uh, sharing my experience with intermittent fasting and bringing you all along with me on the journey and providing a little bit of inspiration and motivation. Again, I'm not the expert. What I do may not be the best thing for you, but I love sharing my process and sharing this idea of slow and steady progress towards your health and fitness goals as a way to get healthy and, most importantly, stay healthy for the rest of your life. So 50,000 subscribers. I am super excited. Again, I can't tell you how much it just blows my mind how much the channel has grown and how much this message of slow and steady is resonating with everybody. But thank you so much. I'm glad you're here. If you're joining me on the live stream, if you have any questions, leave those in the chat now. And if you're watching this on the replay, thank you. I can't tell you how much it means to me that you would take time out of your day to watch this replay and hear some of the questions and get my answers to them. But thanks again. And if you're here live, go ahead and leave those questions in the chat. And watching this on the replay, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below this video, or you can shoot me an email. My email address is ifwithryan@gmail.com. So again, that's ifwithryan@gmail.com. If I don't see or get to your question during the live stream. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump straight into the questions. Let's see, I got them coming in already. So first one, hey, have a great week. Thank you very much, Patrick. I appreciate that. Stephen, looking good, bud. Thank you very, very much. It's about time for me to get a haircut. I think I'm on every probably 4 to 6 weeks coming up. Time to get a haircut here soon, but thank you very much. I appreciate that. Favorite sports team? Favorite sports team? It's probably, I enjoy watching football. Football's always fun. UCF is probably the only team that I really follow. I went there to college. I graduated in 2009. So I follow UCF for the most part. But a little bit of that was when I was growing up, we didn't watch a lot of sports. My dad, I think he watched and enjoyed sports, but we just didn't watch them in the household. So I never kind of built that habit, if you will, of watching sports. I don't have any professional teams that I follow. I played soccer in high school. I like playing soccer. I like watching football. So here we got a few write-in questions. We'll get these up front while you all are writing your questions in the chat. Yesterday, oh, yeah, it's growing like crazy. I think it's at 52 right now. YouTube can be that way. You know, sometimes if things pick up, it can go exponential. It could stop in a day, but it's definitely on a good trajectory right now. So the first write-in question was, how tall are you? Well, that's an easy one to answer. I am 5'11". I never got to the 6 foot mark. Maybe right out of high school, I was 6 foot. And as you know, you get a little shorter, but I am 5'11", or 71 inches tall. I don't know if you have time to answer this question, but what do you think about eating 0-calorie foods during your fast, like pickles, for example? Thanks for your videos. Hey, so here's my thought on 0-calorie foods. This is during a fast. Is if you follow me or if you know anything about my take on 0-calorie drinks and things like that, is do they technically break a fast? Well, probably, depending on who you ask. Anything that you take in, some people will even say coffee breaks a fast, but I say don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And if you need a diet soda to help you get you through your fast, I support that. I have done it myself. I follow like a 70-30 rule. 70% of the time I try to do good. 30% of the time I allow myself to have those 0-calorie drinks during my fast. Most of the time I don't, but I do allow myself to have it. But when it comes to 0-calorie food, again, I think now you're getting more into, you have broken your fast with 0-calorie food. Because even like pickles, for example, they say they're 5 calories. Sometimes they say they're 0 calories, but usually that is one serving, which is usually like a pickle spear. But if you eat multiple of those, the calories do add up. And when you start eating, you do start the digestion process. I will say that, But then I will go ahead and caveat that with the same idea of don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. If you find that you like to eat some zero or low calorie foods, some celery, some carrots during your fasting time, and it helps you meet your goals and you feel good with it, well then do it. Don't let the idea of being perfect be a stumbling block, because what you may find works for you is that you're not doing true intermittent fasting where you go long periods of time without any food. Maybe you do a hybrid where you have low calorie foods in the morning, bigger meals in the afternoon. And if that works for you, then don't let anybody else tell you that you shouldn't do it or it breaks a fast or whatever the case may be. So do I consume zero calorie foods during my fast? I do not. Do I recommend you do it? I recommend you try and see what works for you, because we are all so very different, and we should all just be on a little journey of figuring out what works for us individually. All right, so it looks like we got some live questions coming in. We'll go ahead and get to some of those. Man, ton of people. Thank you so much for joining me on this. Let's see. So I got this one. What made you get into intermittent fasting, or OMAD? So I did intermittent fasting for the first time on my second deployment to Afghanistan. I have struggled with my weight my whole life. I was overweight in elementary school, junior high, and through the start of high school. Now, when high school was coming to an end, I knew I wanted to join the Army, so I kind of got in shape so that I could join the Army. But even when I was in the Army, I would struggle with my weight. It would go up and down, yo-yo all the time. And I've done all sorts of yo-yo diets. I've done the 6 meals a day. I've done 1,800 calories. Like, I've done 16 to 1,800 calories for months on end, counting every calorie. I've done low carb, high protein. I've done Weight Watchers before. But on my second deployment to Afghanistan, when I deployed to Afghanistan, I was about 235 pounds, which is bigger than I should be in the Army. So I did intermittent fasting to lose the weight and lost it through that deployment. Actually put on a decent bit of muscle, came back from that deployment. After 10 months, I was like 205 pounds, carrying a decent amount of muscle. Like, I almost had visible abs. I was probably 12, 13% body fat at 205 pounds, and did intermittent fasting through that deployment. But when I got back to the States, I stopped fasting, because at the time I wasn't looking at intermittent fasting as a way to maintain and stay healthy. I used it as a tool to get in shape. Once I got in shape, I went back to my old eating patterns, put the weight back on, which is why now I'm kind of preaching and in this idea of doing intermittent fasting for the long term. But the reason that I went back to intermittent fasting, other than any of those other diets, is of everything that I've done in the past, I felt the best mentally when I was doing fasting. So I didn't feel drained. I didn't always feel deprived and that sort of stuff. So that's why I've come back to intermittent fasting, is because for me, it's sustainable. So what do you do for a living? Right now, I work at Publix. I'm a butcher. I've been doing that for about a year now. And then prior to that, I was working so white collar job as a manager. I was an officer in the Army. So I got out of the Army, worked for a company, and then have kind of transitioned. I've been working at Publix for a year now. And now I say I do a little bit of YouTube on the side. Hey, good morning, Andre. Good to see you. How do you fast? So fasting is simply, in its simplest term, is stop eating at a certain time, let's call it 8 o'clock at night, and you don't eat or consume calories again until the next day at noon. In its simplest term, it's just skipping breakfast. You have water, black coffee, any 0-calorie drinks during that time. It's essentially you're skipping breakfast. 8 hours of that you're sleeping anyways. But that's, in its simplest, that's all intermittent fasting is. Hey, what's going on, Sheldon? Good. Now that I know your YouTube stuff. But thanks, man. It's been a journey for sure. Feels a little bit like I'm strapped to a rocket. Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. Honestly, it was my honor to serve, and definitely one of the highlights of my life. What keeps me motivated, disciplined? There's a few answers to this question. And there's the long term and then like the short term. Long term, I'm going to say I'm on Instagram Reels a lot, like watching them for motivation. But there's this one quote that comes on. It's like, "How do you stay motivated?" And the response is, "Hey, I don't stay motivated. I stay consistent." And one of the things, there are days where I do lack motivation, but I think having a system and a habit makes it so that I don't have to fall back on my motivation, because there are definitely days where I don't feel motivated, but because I have the habit of fasting and a habit of working out, even if I'm not motivated, I will do them. With that being said, if you are new to my channel, please go back and watch my very first video. I talk about my stair-step approach to intermittent fasting. And essentially what I talk about is whenever we get on a health and fitness journey, we try to do so much, we get bogged down and overwhelmed. We can lose motivation to do it all, so that we end up doing none of it. I've been doing this for over 2 years now, and I started with just fasting. After fasting, I moved to fitness, and now 2 years later, I'm starting to work on my nutrition. It's still not a habit yet. So there are days that if I'm not motivated to eat healthy, I will eat junk, but I'm building that habit so that when the motivation isn't there, the habit and the structure are. So that's kind of long term. Now, short term, what do I do for motivation? Honestly, in the gym, I'll put in some motivational speeches. I do like watching some motivational YouTube stuff when I'm working out, kind of for some short term motivation to get me through a workout, or listen to some music that just pumps me up. I have never ridden the Jacksonville Skyway. I look at it every time I drive through downtown, but I have never been on it. Beard oil, I don't. So Carrie got me for Christmas, I think it's Duke's, maybe the same people that make the soap. She got me some beard oil, um, and I use it occasionally, but I am not the best when it comes to like grooming, self care, and things like that in general, honestly. So I probably need to keep trimming my beard up, because when it gets long, it gets curly, and I don't have the time or the desire to make myself look perfectly groomed a lot. Are there foods you crave while intermittent fasting? So when it comes to cravings, I think for the most part, and if you watch my videos, one of the things you'll see is I eat pretty good food for the most part. So I don't, there's never anything that I'm like have a burning desire for. If there is, I try to let myself have it either in small amounts, or I try to fit it in throughout the week. But one of the things that I remember was when I have done diets in the past that are very restrictive, my cravings were much more intense. Usually it was for fast food and sweets, because I completely cut that stuff out. So when it comes to cravings, I look at cravings as an indicator on how hard I am going in my diet, and how much I kind of maybe need to scale it back a little bit. If I'm craving junk food a lot, that's usually an indication that my diet is too clean, if that makes sense. I think if I have a little bit of those things, then I don't have overwhelming cravings. And I'd say for the most part, there's nothing that people would call super unhealthy that I really crave too much. I went from 307 to 230 today. Congratulations. That is awesome. The smaller I get, the more critical I am of my fat. How did you develop such a healthy mentality around body image? I'm going to be completely honest with you. Call me D. That is something that I still struggle with, is body image. In my mind, I want to be shredded with a six pack. I don't know why. It's deep down a desire of mine, and I am working on being okay with that. One of the things that I try to tell myself, call it a positive affirmation, whatever it is whenever I'm thinking about I'm not where I want to be yet, I do try to tell myself, don't think about where you are not. Look at how far you've come. That helps me a little bit, but it is still something that I struggle with, especially I get a decent amount of troll comments on my YouTube videos, and a part of me wants to hurry up and get in shape so that I can shut all the naysayers down. But then I gotta listen to myself, take my own advice, and say, hey, listen, slow and steady, slow and steady. So when it comes to body image, I don't necessarily have the answer because that is something that I still struggle with. I still want to look really good. But I think kind of with everything, I'm trying to build this system and this mentality of slow and steady. And part of that is telling myself, don't worry about where you need to go. Look at what you've already done and be okay with that and be okay with the pace at which you're moving. How can someone who's obese and doesn't have a great tolerance for hunger start fasting? So I will say this, I'm not a medical doctor. Everything that I'm saying, the disclaimer, this I am showing what works for me. I don't necessarily don't take everything I have as medical advice, but when it comes to fasting and the hunger cravings, one thing that I will say is there is a little bit of time in the first few weeks of fasting that you do have to struggle through the hunger. There's no two ways about it. Now, some of the things that make that a little easier is don't overburden yourself with the idea of you have to fast and you have to eat healthy and you have to start exercising and you have to start tracking calories. Man, even just saying it all, that's too much at the beginning. The only thing you should do is fast from 8 p.m. at night to noon, consume no calories. For those first 3 weeks, you will be hungry. You do have to fight through that. When you break your fast at noon, allow yourself to eat the foods that you want. Don't have the added stress of changing your diet. Because what will happen is if you can muscle through those first 3 weeks of fasting, your body's hormones will start to change. And I don't get into the science a lot in the channel, but your body releases this hormone called ghrelin. It's a hormone that triggers you to be hungry. Your body will stop producing ghrelin as early in the day once you start fasting. So generally, sometimes we're hungry when we actually need foods. Other times we're hungry because if you eat at 8 o'clock in the morning every morning, well, that first and second day that you skip your 8 o'clock breakfast, 8:30, 9 o'clock rolls around, you're going to be insanely hungry. Even if you ate 10,000 calories a day before and don't actually need the food, because your body releases ghrelin, you will feel hungry. But once you make it through about 3 weeks of fasting, your body starts to change the time at which it releases the ghrelin. So when it comes to hunger pangs, a little bit of that, drink a lot of water, stay busy, stay focused on other things. You do have to muscle through those first 3 weeks. But on the other side of that, you will stop being hungry in the mornings. I can go now 20 hours without eating and I never get hungry because my body is used to this way of life. Oh, congrats on 50K. I've always loved your beard and beard care things you use or tips you follow. So again, I do beard oil probably maybe once every 10 days, if I had to be honest with you. Just when I think about it and get out of the shower, put some beard oil in it. I do have a beard brush that I use. It's like one of those stiff bristle brushes. But at some point right now, I would love to have like a long, nice beard, but I don't have the time to devote to learning how to do that. I'm too focused on fasting, fitness, and growing the YouTube and having a job and having girls. But I do appreciate that you think that it looks nice. I want to know, just based off your personal experience, how you deal with crazy hunger strikes. You'll eat your daily intake, but hours later you get extremely hungry. Do you eat? So here's what I do. Here's my tip for when that hunger happens. So let's say you make it through those first 3 weeks and you get hungry. Here's how I deal with it. You see this in some of my videos, some of my longer videos. I have time to talk about it. I don't really talk about it in my short videos just because I only have 42 seconds for the most part. But when I get hungry, what I will do is set a timer on my watch for an hour. If at the end of that hour I'm still hungry, then I will go ahead and eat something. The same goes whether it's I had dinner and I planned on fasting through, or if I planned on breaking my fast at 2 p.m. and it's 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm hungry, I'll set my watch for an hour. And here's what that does. My body still releases ghrelin, just like I talked about, but there are times ghrelin gets released and then it stops being released. So if I set my timer for an hour and I'm hungry, if at the end of that hour I'm still hungry, well, then I allow myself to eat something. But more times than not, that hour will come and go, and an hour later, I am no longer hungry. That tells me that I wasn't actually deficient in calories or needing energy. That was just my body releasing ghrelin. So what I do whenever I get crazy hungry is I set my watch for an hour and I tell myself, if I'm still hungry in an hour, I will eat something. That also gives me something to look forward to. But more often than not, I get busy doing something. I drink some water, I drink some coffee, and the hour comes and I'm not hungry at that point. Military man, I used to be. I was in the Army for 7 years. I was in the infantry, a highlight of my life. Can't stay is working, but want to say thank you. Upbeat, positive vibes. Thanks, Ryan. All the best to you and your family. Thank you very much, Lee. I really appreciate that. Again, I can't tell you how lucky I am to be sharing my journey and getting so much motivation and inspiration from everyone that's following along with me. Just know, if you feel like you're getting something out of my videos, first and foremost, thank you. But know, every time you leave a comment, every time you watch a video, I am absolutely feeding off that and getting something back as well. So I appreciate this community that we're building together. How do you get back on track after a hiatus to one meal a day? I had a week vacation and now I can't seem quite to go back. So when it comes to one meal a day, and there was times over these last holidays, I put on, 25, 30 pounds through these last holidays. I was fasting probably 4 days a week, but there was 3 days a week that I wasn't fasting. I like, if you need to do like a complete reset, I start back at the beginning. And back at the beginning for me is 16/8. So I would do from 8 p.m. to noon, and don't worry about getting back into OMAD just to be doing it. Kind of let your body naturally get back into it. Remember, slow and steady. But I'd start back. Don't get back into one meal a day right away if it's something you're struggling with, because when we struggle with things and we don't have those small wins, it's harder to stick with it. So I would say try back with the 16/8 and then work your way back into OMAD. Hey, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And I'm kind of like making it, not routine is the word I'm looking for. I'll call it routine because I can't think of the word. Anytime I'm doing these live streams, I'm pouring a pot of coffee and having it. And I think right now my fasting plan, I actually work a closing shift here, so I'm going to have to call this at the 1 hour mark so I have time to get ready for work. But my fasting plan right now is to maybe eat something when I get off of work tonight at 10 is the plan. So I'll end up doing probably about a 26-hour fast today, but going through a pot of coffee while we're on the live stream. Jose, hey Ryan, what was your main motivation that kept you consistent, especially in the beginning? I'm having a hard time staying committed for more than 2 weeks at a time. Love your videos. So my motivation, again, big, small motivation, my big motivation is to stay healthy for my girls. I want to live a long and healthy life. And when they are in their 20s and 30s and fit and active, hopefully I'm keeping up with them well into their adult lives, thinking even beyond that to when they start having kids. I want to be an active grandparent. I want to live a great long life. So that's kind of my motivation. But now when you hear me say that, and one of the things that I want you to think about, I don't know how old you are, but one thing to think about is, hey, I want to be healthy for the next 60 years. That means I don't have to get healthy in the next 2 months. I have to learn how to do this so that I enjoy it, so that I can be healthy for the next 60 years. So if you are struggling to get started, don't worry about it. Don't let the stress of getting started right be another stressor to you, because if you're anything like me, the stress of doing things correctly and the stress of eating healthy and the stress of getting the workouts and all that stuff does more harm than good. So when you struggle, figure out why you're struggling. Is it, hey, I got hungry? Is it, I'm thinking about too many things? And try to eliminate the things and the obstacles in your path just one at a time and figure out how you can do it sustainably and enjoyably, which is why on all my videos, for the most part, you see me eating foods that I enjoy because I'm trying to do this for the next 50 to 60 years. So, am I trying to eat nothing but salads, grass fed beef, and all that right away? No, because the stress that it would take me to buy the foods, cook the foods, not eat out like everybody tells me to do, the stress of that would get me off would get me off of course. So when you were starting out, just try to focus on one healthy habit. Do one healthy habit for 2 months. Then once that is legitimately habit that you don't even have to think about it, then build on another habit. So the first habit I always recommend is fasting. That's what I did. It may not work for you, but if you're trying to work with fasting, just focus on that one habit. And understand you're going to be doing this for a long time. So if something is not working, try to figure out why it's not working and then make adjustments, because what I do may not work for you. Find what works for you so that you can be healthy for the long run. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right. Day one for me, starting at 450, 6'4". Any tips while getting started? So I just spent a lot of time talking everything that I just said. You got to take a long-term approach and you just got to focus on one thing at a time. Make one healthy change and understand that you want to be healthy for the next 50 years. So if you only added one healthy habit every 2 years over the course of your life, you're going to have 25 healthy habits. That's a lot of healthy habits. So just focus on one habit every 2 years and you still get to your goal of living a healthy life. My biggest tip to anybody getting started is working on the mindset of let's do this forever. Let's stop the yo-yo diets. And you're going to trip up. That's a part of this process. But when you know that you've got 50 years ahead of you, even if you trip, fumble, and put weight back on right now, it's okay because you got the rest of your life to figure this out. So, all right, just had a super chat come in. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Love your down-to-earth approach and your personality. Wish you the best. I know you'll hit 100K before you know it. Pax, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I can't tell you again. I'm a little. It's a little surreal to me how quickly the channel is growing. But I think one of the things that I'm thinking about and is always on my mind is trying to bring a dose of reality, trying to be honest, and realizing that I am not perfect. And I enjoy sharing my process because I feel like so much people are trying to sell us this idea of get fit quick, and it ends up hurting us in the long run. But thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate the super chat as well. 100K, maybe by the end of the year. I told Carrie, or I asked Carrie if I get the 100K, if she would fly out to Vegas with me to eat at that steak and lobster place. So I'm trying to convince her to do that. All right, so we'll get back into some of these questions. Let's see. Congratulations on 50K. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It is an awesome ride for sure. Do you crash a lot from zero sugar and carbs? Oh, conversation with Call Me D in the chat going on. All right, thank you for your service. Again, thank you. It was my honor to serve. Do you ever not fast for a day? I would say probably about once every 10 days. About once every 10 days, I'm not fasting. And when I say not fasting, I'll go to bed at night and wake up and eat breakfast or something with the girls. About once every, probably realistically, probably it's once every 14 days, once every 2 weeks. But that's because the 16-hour fast for me at this point is very easy. It fits within my life. So if I want to eat more, whatever the case may be, more times than not, I'm eating over my calories than I'm not fasting. I would say about once every 10 days, I'm eating a lot of calories. I do that more often than I don't fast. Congratulations. Thank you very much, Arvin. I appreciate that. Andy, what's going on? Hey, so question is that I've fallen off a few times and I get back on, but what is your way of getting back on? I get back on just kind of how I started, one habit at a time. I focus on the fasting and then focus on the fitness and then try to focus on better foods. But understand that falling off, one of the other things that I do like to do, this is another piece of advice, is when I fall off, I do try to spend a little time analyzing and thinking about what got me off track, because listen to me, this is easier said than done. If we can figure out what gets us off track, we can try to address those things so that maybe we don't get back, so that we don't fall off track to begin with. It's easier said than done, but the bright side is we've got the rest of our lives to figure this out. So we can we can work on those things. So when I fall off track, I just get right back on at the beginning. I don't necessarily just try to do everything I was doing when I fell off track. I just start back with a fasting, and then the fasting and the fitness, and then the fasting and nutrition, one thing at a time. But do try to figure out what it is. Was it stress that got you off? Was it, for me, it's Oreos. If I eat Oreos, I usually go on a binge. I recognize that, so I just try to avoid them completely. We got a few more super chats coming in. We're gonna go ahead and address those real quick. A little something for your Pizza Friday. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Jason. I think so. What did we do this last Friday? So for the first time in a while, we didn't do Pizza Friday. We went out to Roadhouse, but that was for Charlotte's birthday. And but thank you very much. I do appreciate that. It really does mean a lot to me. All right, Jackie, you're an inspiration. Does IF slow down the metabolism, and how do you IF while on vacation or in a social setting? So let me pull up a video for you real quick, Jackie. If you all give me 1 second, I'm going to pull up I'm typing intermittent fasting and vacation. Pull up my video here. I'm going to leave this.
What's going on, everybody? I'm coming to you. Cool.
All right, Jackie. So I'm posting a link in the chat right now. That is the video that I did on intermittent fasting and vacation. I give some tips in that for how you can go on vacation, enjoy yourself, and stick to intermittent fasting. That's one. And does intermittent fasting slow down the metabolism? I'm not a scientist, but generally watching enough videos and kind of understanding how it works, intermittent fasting does not slow down the metabolism near as much as eating low calories, which is one of the reasons when you see my videos, I'm eating a decent number of calories, because I want my body used to getting in 2,400 calories a day so that it gets used to burning that many. Once you start reducing your calories, your body basic metabolic rate will adjust to the new calories, and it'll adjust up and it'll adjust down to fit in how many calories you are eating on a consistent basis, which is why my recommendation when you're doing intermittent fasting is don't go too low in the calories, because if you go too low, you will eventually slow down your metabolism. They did a study, don't ask me to cite it. Go to see Thomas DeLauer. He does all sorts of videos on it, as well as Jeff Nippard. They did a study on reduced caloric intake over a large study group, and they saw that on extreme reduction in calorie diets, that people's basic metabolic rates slowed down, so that when they started eating back a normal amount of calories, they put on fat because their metabolism had slowed down so much. So that's for slowing down your metabolism. And then again, check that link out for intermittent fasting while on vacation. So best tips, and Jackie, thank you again for the super chat. I really appreciate that. It means so much to me. What are the best tips for intermittent fasting? Well, first off, everybody, joined by Peyton Manning in the video today. So uh, my best tips for intermittent fasting would be obviously slow and steady. And the other thing is find what works for you, because what works for you may not work for everybody, and find a way to make it sustainable. Some things that I do that help me is I eat high protein, especially towards the end of my fast. So if I have a meal like pasta or things that are high in carbs at my last meal, I do find that I wake up hungry the next morning because of that insulin spike and drop. Obviously, hormones do play a factor. I don't get into a lot of that in the channel. But one of the things that I do try to do is just try to eat high protein and fat towards the last meal of the day. That helps keep me satiated going into the next day. 270 was my biggest. Again, I'm 5'11", got up to 270. I was 215 this morning. And my lowest while intermittent fasting was I got down to 205 and then kind of got back up to 210. That's kind of where my body stays for the most part. Again, could I be 190, 195? Probably. And I think I'm moving in that direction. But when all this is said and done, I want to say it took me 3 years to get to my goal, not 3 months, because I want to be realistic. I don't know if this is a super personal question. Has affected your relationship? My girlfriend loves eating out, so once I cut off eating at a certain time, I know it's bothersome. So here's what I'll say to that is Carrie and I are very open and communicate about what my fasting plan is. And I always like to think 2 days at a time. I don't have a plan for the whole week because if you're anything like me, life changes on a daily basis. But I do communicate with Carrie, hey, these are my plans today and tomorrow. What are your plans? And then honestly, I will adjust my eating schedule to accommodate her. A great example of this is this last Saturday night, Friday night, I forget when it was. We went out with some friends and we had reservations at a restaurant at 9 o'clock at night. And we were going out to do dinner and drinks. I knew that 2 days ahead of time, so I was able to adjust my fasting schedule so that I didn't break my fast until like 6 p.m. Had a little dinner with the family, and then went out and had dinner and drinks with the friends, and still was within my window. That's one of the reasons that my times that I fast change every day. When I start and when I stop isn't always the same. I just start my fasting timer whenever I'm done eating and try to make it to at least, now I'm doing about 18 hours. But I communicate with Carrie and I will adjust my schedule so that it fits within life. Because that's also one of the reasons that intermittent fasting is sustainable for me, is I'm able to make adjustments to make it fit my life. So my recommendation would be communicate with your partner and see what are the meals that are important to her that she wants to eat together, and then see if you can adjust your fasting schedule to accommodate that. It's really easy for me to skip breakfast at my house because breakfast just isn't a big thing around here. Now everyone else eats breakfast, but Carrie usually does her own thing and the girls do their own thing, so we're not eating breakfast as a family. So if I miss that meal, that's not as big of a thing as if I were to miss meal with the family at dinner time. So I adjust my schedule accordingly. On days when you feel like you don't have enough time, what is your favorite go-to meal? I get Publix subs a lot, or rotisserie chickens, because I feel like if I don't have a lot of time, one of the things that I'm thinking about is how can I get in a lot of calories quickly, and I will get a full sub. If I'm doing one meal and I don't have time, I will get the sub because it takes them 5, 6 minutes to make it. I can eat it in 15 minutes. But also, if it's going to be my one meal, because I talked about it earlier in the live stream about I don't want my calories to go too low, I will have them add the mayo, and I will also have them add the oil and stuff like that, so that I'm getting a 2,000 calorie sub. and that thing will fill me up. I eat a full sub with meat, cheese, pickles, olives, oil, mayonnaise. Like, that's a heavy sub that's going to keep me full for a while. Or Chipotle. I love Chipotle, and the Chipotle bowl is a good bowl. I've learned a lot from this channel. It's funny how the algo brought you to my attention a few weeks after starting my fast. Hey, I really appreciate that. I think I love how YouTube puts my videos in front of the right people at the right time. I'm definitely very thankful for that. That's one of the reasons that I love YouTube also, is anytime I've done a weight loss journey in the past, YouTube is where I come for motivation, information, which is why I love sharing my journey on the platform, is because I know it's where I went when I was looking to learn how to do something. Do you find sleep impacted positive or negative based off your eating window? And if so, what window seems? I just finished filming a day in the life vlog last week, and it's going to be up in like 2 weeks because the videos are like 1 to 2 weeks behind. But at the end of the video, give you a little sneak peek. At the end of the video, I talked about my sleep patterns are not good. I always wake up pretty tired. I wake up in the middle of the night. Honestly, I don't think that's the fasting as much as it is my cell phone. I sleep with the cell phone next to the bed. I use it in bed at night. I check it in the middle of the night when I wake up. If I wake up and it's 2 o'clock, I'll check notifications. I am guilty of not having good sleep hygiene. I don't have a good answer for you. What I can tell you is that's on my list of healthy things that I want to do. Then it just comes down to, when do I prioritize getting good sleep? And I think the answer is soon, because I now have fasting down. I have fitness down. I feel like I've just about I'm moving in the right direction in fitness or in nutrition. I won't say I've got nutrition dialed in, but I'm working on it. I think sleep's probably going to be pretty soon that I work on. So I don't have good sleep hygiene, and 90% of that could be solved by putting my phone in another room. I just haven't been able to do it yet. I struggle with that. Hey, what's going on, man? Any tips for calisthenics while doing intermittent fasting? So I'd say anytime you can work out is great. I enjoy working out fasted. That's 9 times out of 10 I'm working out fasted, and that's because it fits within my schedule and I feel good doing it. I will say, on days where I have big workouts planned, the day before that, I do try to go higher in my carbs, because I can tell a difference in the gym when I have high carbs the day before. I just posted a short of me doing dumbbell curls in the gym, and I was looking big in that video. But part of the reason for that was we celebrated Charlotte's birthday the day before, and I had cake and stuff like that. So I had plenty of sugar and carbs in my system, and what you eat does affect your workouts. Not that the cake fueled my workouts, but it made me look more vascular, made me look fuller. I will adjust what I'm eating the day before big workouts. So I lift weights 2, sometimes 3 days a week. I'm in the gym lifting weights. So on days before that, I try to get in some of my high carb days. What are your favorite shoe brand, apparel brands? Man, all my stuff is Walmart. The shoe brands are Brooks, but I've had those for over a year now. 𝐴𝐶 is probably my favorite running shoe. If I look to get back into running, which I'm not really running now. I ran for the Murph, and I'll jog every once in a while, but that's not running. When I was in the Army, I did half marathons. If I were to get back into running, it would be 𝐴𝐶. But when it comes to clothes, people comment that they're going to start a fund to buy me new workout shirts, because I'm always wearing one of like 3 workout shirts, and they are all Walmart Russell brand. Russell is the brand, not Russell brand. They're all the Russell brand from Walmart. If you know anybody that does gym apparel and wants to give me a sponsorship, head over to Instagram, shoot them a message, linking them to my YouTube page, and tell them to help me get some new shirts. I dropped 25 pounds. I still have 25 to go, but I lost motivation now watching these videos and motivational videos. This is the first day back to my diet. Thank you. I really appreciate that, Hunter. Again, that is absolutely one of the things that I do is especially when it comes time to get into the gym. I, my workouts are definitely negatively affected if I don't have some good music playing while I'm working out. What kind of music do you listen to? If I'm not working out, I will listen to everything. I love pop music. I love country music. I love rap, R&B, hip hop, um, rock, classic rock, uh, top hits of the 80s, 90s, and today's. Like I love 80s music. I listen to everything. There are two types of music that I don't listen to when I'm not working out, and that is gangster rap and like hardcore death metal. And the reason that I don't like those two genres of music is because I don't know what they're saying. The gangster rap, if it's too fast, I just don't know the lyrics. And like death metal, they're screaming, so I can't understand what they're saying. Those are the only two genres that I don't listen to. When it comes time to get into the gym, I do listen to a lot of rap. Um, I try to be wholesome because I think that's who I am. But if you all could hear what I listen to in the gym, that's the only time that I'm not wholesome. The stuff I listen to in the gym is usually pretty vulgar, but that helps me. It helps me have a great lifting session. Does fasting affect your gains and recovery? I don't track it enough to know. Honestly, I feel like recovery it does well because I always feel fresh. But that part of that is I'm only working out 2 to 3 days a week, so that helps my recovery as well. As I don't try to work out 5 days a week, and because of that, I'm able to go hard in the gym, but I have 2 days off to recover. Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I definitely having the kids is my biggest motivation for wanting to get fit and healthy for the rest of my life for sure. But from one dad to another, thank you. Actually, from one dad to another, I'll go ahead and give you a dad joke. Everybody, feel free to use this. This is actually courtesy of my father-in-law, but it's a great joke, and it's what's green and has wheels? Grass. But I lied about the wheels. Uh, hey, good morning. How are you doing this morning? Let's see. Conversation having. Let's see. Congrats on the 50K. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. It's crazy. It's crazy every time I think about it. I just started eating healthier 3 months ago, and I noticed I think about food all the time now. I don't know what to do. So that's I talk about it a little earlier in the live stream, but sometimes if I'm consistently thinking about food and craving food, that sometimes is an indication to me that I'm going too hard in my nutrition. Too hard meaning I've tried to clean it up too much. I want to be eating healthy foods, but I'm going to like eating healthy foods more when it's what I crave. You see me doing those berries and nuts and honey a lot. I now crave that meal. I think that's a healthy meal. That's the position that you want to be in. If you are thinking about if you're thinking about foods outside of what you're going to be eating, like if you're thinking about the food that you're going to be eating, I mean, I do that. Like if I'm fasting, I'm thinking about, man, I can't wait to get off and cook some ground beef burgers with French fried onions and an egg on top. If I'm thinking during my fast about the food that I'm going to be eating, then that's okay. But if I'm eating a salad and thinking about, man, I wish I was eating a hamburger, that is an indication to me that maybe I should eat the hamburger and save the salad for later. I don't know if that helps, but that's kind of if you're talking about eating, if all you're thinking about is the foods that you're not eating, maybe you try to fit some of those foods that you're thinking about into what you are eating on a more regular basis, and then slowly work in the healthy foods over time until the healthy food is what you're craving. Slow and steady wins the race for sure. Favorite type of cardio? Personally, mine is swimming. When it comes to cardio, I think one of the things, if I'm looking to train my heart rate and all that kind of stuff, my favorite is high intensity interval training. I love that stuff, like sprints, uphill sprints, um, rower, like the rowing machine. for cardio, if I'm trying to just do slow, steady state, I like the elliptical. I like to watch a movie and do the elliptical. I went from 381 to 311. I'm so glad, and I'm still working on the slow and steady work. Absolutely. Congratulations. That is absolutely awesome, from what you've already done. And I know what you're going to do moving forward. Slow and steady wins the race. There's a reason that saying exists. Do you drink alcohol, or you eliminate it? I don't eliminate it. I don't personally prefer it a lot, so you don't see me drinking it a lot, but I absolutely fit alcohol into my eating window. I think about it in terms of overall calories, so I don't eat all my calories and have alcohol on top of that. I like to maybe substitute a little bit. So if I'm going to be having alcohol, maybe I'll go with the salad as the appetizer instead of like the artichoke dip for the appetizer, whatever the case may be. I try to fit it in, and also eat it within my eating window. Thank you. I appreciate that. But back to the alcohol. So I just don't personally prefer it, but figure out what's going to work for you in the long run. Good morning. I hope you were doing well this morning. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, George. Do you enjoy your current workout regimen? Do you see yourself training for anything in the near future? So here's where I'm at with the workouts. I do enjoy them. I like the idea of training for something. I think I would enjoy CrossFit. I think that's kind of the thing that I have been leaning towards for a few reasons. I like the idea of, functional fitness, doing different things a lot. And I like the idea of group workouts. One, it's a little expensive, and two, the schedule for the CrossFit gyms doesn't work with my life. So with that being said, I do need to find something that I'm going to kind of work towards. I know the Murph was just kind of last thing that I had. But for now, I'm enjoying my workouts as is. So I don't see me changing them up too much, but I do want to find something to work out towards. I was thinking maybe next year, as my physique comes in line. I have always enjoyed bodybuilding. It's just what I enjoy. So maybe at some point in the future, I would like to do a bodybuilding or a physique show, just for no other reason than I enjoy it. I enjoy the sport of bodybuilding, so maybe something like that in the future, but I'm years away from being anywhere close to that physique-wise. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. It's the internet. People love to hate. But with that being said, 90% of my comments, maybe even more, are positive and encouraging. So honestly, just make those response videos because they're fun to me. I like being a little witty, or trying my witty muscle out a little bit. And I like educating and encouraging people. The only thing that gets me with some of the hate comments is that's like making fun of an overweight person in the gym when they're there working out. It's like that person is working on themselves. So when somebody comments something about what I'm doing and I'm not moving fast enough, the thing that I think is, hey, listen, I'm working on myself. That does get a little annoying, that people would be calloused towards other humans that way. So, but overwhelmingly positive, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate each and every one of you for that. Kristen, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Have you worked out a lot doing IF and keto? I do, 2 to 3 days a week. Got a lot of questions coming in, so I'm gonna start kind of doing some rapid fire through some of these. Let's see, Chaz, love the content, watch it daily. When you first started intermittent fasting, did you feel fatigued or weak? I'm nervous to try it, as my job can be very demanding. Drink plenty of water, salt your food, have the electrolytes. I had an active job when I started intermittent fasting. I'm still fairly active at work, not completely strenuous. But no, I don't feel fatigued. Once you make it through those first 3 weeks, and if you have plenty of salt and water and your hydration level is good, you will be okay. Especially if you're trying to lose weight and you have body fat, the energy that's going to power you through your day and your strenuous job is your body fat, which is one of the reasons that you can lose weight on intermittent fasting. What are some tips you can give people who are parents and have a busy life and want to fit in hobbies or personal goals into their schedule? Intermittent fasting is great for that. So my hobby is absolutely YouTube. I spend probably 15 hours a week doing YouTube, if not more. I don't have any other hobbies. So right now it's I work, I have a family, YouTube is my hobby. This takes up all of my extra time. But with that being said, one of the reasons that intermittent fasting works well for me is because by skipping a meal or two a day, I get back 30 minutes to an hour every day that I get to reinvest into my hobbies being YouTube. Today's a great example of that. I'm going to work at 1. I'm going to take my lunch break from like 3:30 to 4:30 or from 4 to 5, and I am not going to eat during that time. I'm going to edit some YouTube videos. So I have my hour lunch break, and I'm going to get to spend that time that I would spend eating working on my hobby. So that's one of the things, that's actually one of the hidden benefits of intermittent fasting is the time you save from not preparing, shopping for, and cooking extra meals. How to fast when you're on vacation, social setting. Oh, yep. So I put that one in the comments there. 1 pound a week is 50 pounds a year from now. Absolutely, slow and steady. Like your videos. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Family is the most important thing to me. All right, same that's with me with ice cream and Oreos. Absolutely. You got to know what your trigger foods are. Congratulations on the 50K. It's amazing how fast you've grown. Your videos are a great motivator to me and kick me off on my own journey. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm a boxer. My walk around weight is 175 currently. I usually cut to 140, but I hate the extreme weight cutting for the scale it's draining. Could fasting help my problem? I honestly, I don't know much about boxing and cutting weight. I don't live in that world. But I imagine you have a coach or a trainer. Maybe it's something you run by them and maybe you experiment with it to see if it could work for you. Congratulations. Love watching your videos. I appreciate that, April. You all help keep me accountable. I know absolutely part of me continuing to stay healthy is knowing that I've got people rooting for me in my corner. So thank you. Hello from 𝐿𝐒𝐄. Hey, what's going on? 𝐿𝐒𝐄 across the street or just over the other side of Jacksonville. Thanks for joining in. And then we got somebody watching from the UK and then another watching from Jacksonville. Duval. All right, if you know, you know. All right, did you go to college? Yes, I went to college twice. I got a bachelor's in criminal justice and I got a master's in organizational leadership. I went to University of Central Florida, so where I got my bachelor's degree from, and I got my master's from Columbus State University when I was in the Army. So I went to college twice. Let's see, Duval. Oh man, we got all sorts of people from Duval in here. If you ever see me out and about, just say what's up. I've had a few people see me at work, say they saw me on YouTube, so that's always fun. All right, hold on. All right, I try to consume a lot of protein to keep myself full through. Oh, I try to consume a lot of protein to keep myself full throughout the day. Absolutely, protein. I absolutely prioritize protein. I don't count my calories and my macros anymore. I just try to eat a lot of protein, and I know that because I can look at my meals and be like, "Is there a lot of protein here? Am I eating a big steak? Am I having a protein shake? Am I eating meat?" Protein, I absolutely prioritize it. 50K, woohoo! How many years you served in the Army? 7 years. Have you ever looked into Trinity Fitness, CrossFit here in Jax? They have a lot of different options for time. I don't know that I've looked into Trinity. I've looked into Jax Beach CrossFit, and there's another one, but I will look into Trinity Fitness because, again, I think CrossFit is what I would like to do, I think. I want to give it a shot at least. Hey, love the content and the family. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Hey, what's going on, Jason? How do you get through working your job and fasting for so long? Over time, I've just really gotten used to it. The more I do it, the easier it gets. And I listen to my body. If I'm hungry, I will eat something. First off, congrats on 50K, and you have inspired me to start fasting. But I have a question. So when fasting can have 0-calorie things, absolutely. You're fine to have 0-calorie drinks or sweeteners. You're fine with that during your fasting period. Aw, good stuff. Tell Katie I said what's up. Congrats on 50. Watching you from Naples, Florida. Woo-hoo, in the house. I love Florida. Great state for sure. What advice could you give me doing IF? I would say if you were diabetic, one, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not fit to give advice. I'll start with that disclaimer, but I can point you in the direction of Dr. Jason Fung. If you look him up on YouTube, that's FNUG. If you look up Dr. Jason Fung, he has a lot of information specifically on intermittent fasting and diabetes. I think he would be a great resource for you. Can I start the fast at 14 years old? It is not recommended that anybody under 18 to 20 start fasting. Again, I'm not a medical professional, but the general consensus is fasting is not recommended for people that are still in the growing phases of their lives. Even if you are perhaps overweight and under the age of 18, it's not recommended that you fast because you don't want to restrict your calories and your nutrients during this phase of your life. So there are two groups of people that it's recommended not to fast, and that's pregnant nursing women and children, growing adults. So I appreciate the support. Glad you found the channel, but it's not recommended for pregnant nursing women and growing adults. Randomly stumbled across your channel and I can't stop watching even though I don't do OMAD at all. Must be your energy which keeps me watching. Love from Denmark. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's always a great comment to see, is when people say, hey, listen, I don't diet. I don't even want to lose weight. I just like watching you. That I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. Hey, a fellow RN from Jack's work at Memorial. I lost 30 pounds right before COVID and gained it all back. Joined Fit Body Boot Camp on St. John's Bluff and trying to get into IF to get back on it. Oh, man, that's right down. Good stuff. Well, man, all sorts of Jacksonville in the house today, but that's awesome. And be sure to reach out if you have any questions or comments. Again, my email is there, ifwithryan@gmail.com. Thank you very much. I'm doing my best. And we got the last one here. Thank you for the information. Hey, well, thank you. And thank you everybody for joining. Again, if you're watching this on the replay and made it to an hour, just that is absolutely awesome. Quick shout out to everybody that watched the last live stream: Isher, EWM, Carol Ward, Michael Sugar, and Vincent Joseph. And if you made it to the end of this live stream, do me a favor and in the comments of this video, once it goes live, go ahead and comment. Let's pick a color. Let's say yellow. Go ahead and comment yellow. That'll let me know that you made it all the way to the end, because if you're watching this on replay and you watch the whole hour, you are an absolute superstar. But thank you so much for each and every one of you. I'm so proud to be sharing my journey with you all to help motivate and inspire you. Inspire and motivate me so much, just knowing that you are following me along in the journey. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you in the next video. I'm going to leave some on the screen here now. Be sure to check those out. And remember, we're not looking to lose weight fast. We're looking to lose weight forever. Thanks again, and I will catch you in the next video.